Welcome to the Shellonomics Podcast, presented by King Midas, your ultimate source for pure Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles entertainment. Stay tuned and dive deep into the Turtleverse with us. Catch all the action on YouTube and Twitch for non-stop Ninja Turtles adventures and retro gaming thrills.
King Mike and the heroes in a half shell.
This is Shellonomics Episode 3. We're going to be joined by John Coleman momentarily. John's going to share with us some tips for new collectors out there. He's going to explain some of the variants that are out there in regards to the old turtle sets. He's also going to show us some of his awesome pieces of his collection, including Scratch and including Giant Basketball Don. If you guys stick around for the end of the video, John's also going to share two of his biggest tips he can give new collectors. If you guys have not subscribed to Spotify, consider doing so if you love turtles. We also do these videos on YouTube, and we hope you enjoy the podcast.
We were very rough with our toys.
And that's what I was going to ask you, because the way you are now, we'll jump to it later on how you're really good at your accessories. I did want to know if you messed around with those guys. And yeah, my toys, that's what they were made for, to be played with. I always thought, did you have the parachuting Don as a kid? Remember the Trooper Don with his parachute?
I did, and I have it now. It's sitting up there. You can't see it. It's out of camera range, but I did not have it as a kid. I like I said, I only had a few Ninja Turtles. Probably between my two brothers and I, we had maybe 15, 20 Ninja Turtles.
And which one was your favorite back in the day?
The toy I remember, the one I remember from Ninja Turtles liking the most, so the last year then I remember buying Ninja Turtles would have been 1992, was Merdude. And I remember just thinking it was the coolest figure. It was weird, it was a fish, he was bright colors, very cool. And I remember at the time being very into those kind of neon G.I. Joes line. I don't remember what they're called, but I remember those guys would battle a lot. So
like that parachuting Don, me and my brother thought he could fly, and you know it's not really meant. We would throw it out the window, and it just wouldn't last long at all.
No, not at all.
You started taking collecting seriously when your kids were around you. So what were your goals? Like, were you trying to get the entire turtle line?
So my goal when I initially started was I wanted to buy the ones that I remember from the cartoon, and so I started doing that. I bought some of the ones that I remember wanting as a kid but didn't have. Monty Moose was a big one initially for me, and Anthrax. So I remember those from the 92 line, and that was the last time I think I was actively buying those. I was really big into Star Wars, so that most of all my figure collecting back in the day was the now worthless Kenner Star Wars line. We ended up much later on. My mom does Christmas up, and we ended up opening up all of those ornaments and making, or all those figures, making ornaments out of a big Star Wars tree. So, but my goal for collecting was to buy the ones as a kid, and then I started researching the line and realized just how extensive it was, and that collector's bug that I've always had, just let's do this. My goal then shifted to I'm going to get every figure from the original line. There were some that were really difficult to find. I probably got within maybe a dozen figures of going into it. I didn't have the Coil Force, or I didn't have a couple of the Coil Force. I mean, there's just a few random ones that I also didn't like. And so at some point it started feeling like work, and I decided I don't really want to do that. I sold all the ones that I didn't really love. Decided, hey, I'm going to buy the stuff I really like, the things I want to display, the pieces that speak to me. Not really caring too much about value in terms of that, but definitely trying to do my research and making sure I wasn't paying, being patient, trying to get a good deal. I didn't have a ton of friends locally who were really into nerdy stuff, so it was nice finding a bunch of other collectors online and being able to connect. I did a bunch of Instagram stuff for a while. I still do a little of it whenever I feel like it, but initially I was doing sales, selling toys.
I don't know, because when I first met you, you had everything down to a T. You knew little combs that belonged to Irma and which one belonged to April. So where did you get research for that?
There was this older online store called mytfindstuff.com. It doesn't exist anymore.
That guy was awesome. I remember him.
Yeah, so it was a really weird setup to where you had to pay friends and family, and on his website it said if you want to pay by credit card, that's fine, but you're going to get a 70% discount if you pay just cash. And it was bizarre, but bought a lot of stuff from him and ended up chatting, and he pretty much from the late 90s through early 2000s was on eBay buying as many lots as he could get, everything he could get. So he ended up with all kinds of stuff, everything, complete set of the collector's cards, everything you could think of. And I just remember spending so much time going through that website because you could see not just the stuff that was listed, but you could also see pictures. It was a smaller screen grab, but you could see it of stuff that had sold. So he had a list of everything, and it was like everything, every variant. There's also an amazing website, TMNTtoys.com. It doesn't have everything there. It's a guy named Dan. He's an awesome guy. I've met him several times. And the stuff there is his own personal collection, and so he doesn't have every variant of everything, but it's the most extensive guide that's out there because it's not just for the vintage, it's vintage everything through modern, offshoot lines, everything you could potentially think of.
So where else did you go to look for accessories? Was it just Mighty Fine stuff? Because again, not many people at that time when you started collecting were listing, just the accessories, which they do now.
Honestly, at that point, you could get them pretty cheap on eBay in lots. You could get them pretty cheap in Facebook groups. Like, not a ton of people would recognize it. I remember getting a lot with Shogun Shoei accessories that had been on the post for 4 or 5 days, apparently, or I saw it in a random group. So nowadays, people know those things, and like vintage Star Wars and other hot accessories, they're going to be looking for them. I got a ton of accessories from Mighty Fine Stuff. They would sell individual accessories, which was shifted to really only buying complete figures. I also got a ton of stuff on eBay initially. I focused on buying really beaten up cards, cracked bubbles, things that were not gradable, were not really had any value for display, didn't look good on the shelf, and would open those. Open to my kids when they were younger. That was a lot of fun. I did a ton of research through there. I also looked at eBay sold listings. They used to have listings that they would show them for even I think it was 6 months or more. Now it seems like those listings disappear really quickly, but you can also use this thing called WorthPoint.com, but you have to pay for a subscription to it. I've never felt the need to do that.
For those new to vintage Ninja Turtles, can you give us at least 2 or 3 examples of a rare accessory that goes for more than Ninja Turtle figures alone? Because we've got one right here, just an example, just a loose, basic Raphael, not the soft head, a hard head, but accessories go more than the toys. I think that's a little crazy, but they're just so hard to find. So can you give us a few examples?
So there's not a ton where the accessories are going to be more than the figure. One really, really clear example of that, and I'll actually grab it real quick because it was down here. I was going to show anyway. This guy, so Giant Slam Dunk and Donatello basketball. This is not a repro. I know there's a bunch on eBay. This is legit. This is definitely worth more than the figure. The figure will sell between $300 to $400. The complete figure, more recent sales I know of, have been $1,200. So the ball by itself, $600 to $800. So this is one where the accessories are. And in the giant figures, so the giant trolls, the accessories can go for more than the figures themselves. In terms of regular figures where the accessories would be more than the figure, Genghis Frog, the gold belt, will sell for more than the figure itself. There's a variant to Genghis that's pretty rare with almost like neon yellow shorts, no green markings, teeth. Every one of those figures came with a belt in the package, but the gold belt itself will sell for more than a Genghis Frog figure for sure.
Yeah, so again, just for novices who are fans of Mutant Mayhem and the 2003 Turtles, explain more about these what'd you call them, variants? I know there's Slash and a couple others, but yeah, it's because I would think that would be one somebody may be able to find, because Genghis Frog is a common piece for guys who've been in the business collecting know that, but that gold belt's a huge piece. So can you elaborate more on how you can tell?
Yeah, I don't have a good example of it right here, but the Genghis frog belt comes in two different colors: black, which is the very much more common color, and then the gold belt. And the gold belt, if any of the people are familiar with the Ace Duck figure from the original line, that gold, it's the same gold color, and it's often mistaken for those. Now, the loops in it are different. That's the big way you can tell the difference between the two. And the Ace Duck, or the Genghis frog, the easiest way to tell is the Genghis frog grenades will fit snugly in a Genghis frog belt, but they'll fall right through an Ace Duck belt. So that's how you can always tell the difference between the gold one. The other difference is visual. The gold belt's going to be more crescent shaped at the top versus for Genghis frog versus for Ace Duck, it's going to be more of a box shape. So there's a ton in terms of variance there. I Slam Dunk and Don's one of my big favorite figures. I'm in Chicago, so obviously Jordan. But yeah, when you're looking at variance there, I mean, you got stuff like, so you got the original Slam Dunk and Donatello. This guy right here, who comes with the ball, sits nicely on his hand, comes with a hoop, and it had this action where, well, oh, there you go. I'll get that later.
Yeah.
So it came with this silver hoop. So that's the original. They re-released them. They did about 13 figures in Europe that were in different packaging with different colored accessories. So you got another Slam Dunk and Don, exactly the same figure, no difference in articulation like some of the others, same hand position, same ball, but the hoop is blue. These were not in the U.S. So this is one where the accessory, again, actually is quite much more valuable than the figure, because the figure is exactly the same as the U.S. version. The hoop will sell upwards of $100 or more. Figure, $20 maybe. I don't know as much right now about the current pricing of the vintage stuff because I'm buying it too much.
And then they did $100 for a accessory here, guys. A couple $100. Now, how do you even get that? Because did you have to get that through eBay? Because again, they weren't sold in the States. So how did you come across getting that piece, John?
Yeah, so one of the things that I've enjoyed the most in collecting is making friends in different countries. So I a friend, he passed away from cancer recently, but he's a guy who got me a lot of the Euro accessories back in the day from Germany. So my buddy Coleman.
Colby, yeah.
So,
yeah, he was another good one, guys. Yeah, he's part of a lot of good Facebook groups over there.
Yeah. So I've made a lot of friends internationally. They've helped me out finding pieces, shipping them over. I try and help out when I can, shipping stuff over from the U.S. But yeah, so that's how I got that. That's how I've gotten a lot of stuff. And currently, most of the things I collect outside of the newer Mayhem figures, which I'm obsessed with, is variant stuff from other countries that wasn't released in the US. So we'll go back to Slam Dunk and Don real quick because I got two more to show you.
Oh yeah.
So this is the rare one. Now these are just TMNT foot stands. They don't come with the figure. So this was released in '94 with a trading card, and so had the orange ball. Everything's the same, but he's called the white jersey Slam Dunk variant. I mean, this one can have $1,000. I mean, I would not sell mine for $1,000. It'd be a lot more. It's a not for sale price anyway. So, and these are with these accessories too. Several $100s. So for either the ball or the hoop. And then they did re-releases in '98 and '99 through KB Toys. And then that Slam Dunk and Don, his hand position's different. It's down low. But I guess there were complaints about people losing the ball because now he's attached to a string.
Well, that was a perfect switch too. You just shot right at us, John. They worked on it.
Well, and that one doesn't fly off and hit the camera because it's on a string.
He was hitting the camera.
Yeah, it came with the same color hoop as the original release. So there's 4 different variants for the figures, especially in the packaging. Technically only 3 different variant figures because the Euro release and the US release were the same. But then again, we also have the giant version, right? Ball, loose, complete. This is my most recent acquisition. It's the last giant Donatello I needed. And probably the nicest piece of my collection. Slam dunk and Donatello. Yeah, actually traded a prototype for this. I do not regret it.
For beginners, I know a lot of people like going to flea markets and they'll just start squeezing the head. So is there a lot of, how much different is the value between a soft head loose and a hard head loose original, you know, Turtle First Edition?
I mean, honestly, it's probably going to be at least double. Now, you got to remember these loose, complete, original figures are going to be worth some money, but the figures themselves are quite common. Even the soft heads are pretty common. There are a few things, though, that are really difficult to find in terms of the original accessories. So Donatello's belt is almost always broken. That belt actually is really, really hard to find. Michelangelo's nunchucks very commonly broke. And there was also a beaded version. The original kind of version was beaded, not a straight strand, and it broke so easily. I do have one sitting up top somewhere, but different than that. So those are kind of accessories from the original ones that are really difficult to find. The Ninja Throwing Stars were very commonly lost. That other stuff, those 3 other pieces that were attached to every accessory rack, those are just ridiculously common. And you know, I remember having a huge gallon bag full of them, where I ended up selling all my bulk stuff to a friend who's a reseller. So, but the thing is, with the soft head turtles, they're the original. They're what collectors want. So they have that inherent intrinsic value. People want those, and when you're getting the turtles, a lot of the newer collectors, they're going to be starting off wanting those soft head versions. So not just the soft turtles, Shredder, Bebop, Rocksteady. You know, there's a lot of nostalgia there. So I think that's what brings that price up, and is always going to have a demand for those original 10 turtles, 10 figures. So.
Exactly. What other variants exist out there, John? I know there's an April. I mean, well, News Van April's different, but I think there's an April original, right? That has a different variant, and then there's there's 3 Slashes. I think we could talk about too. I know Slash is an easy one.
I'm just gonna pick up the camera for a minute, because this is my.
It's lovely. Thanks for the tour here.
Yeah, so that's my April O'Neil shelf. So that second row there is all variants of April O'Neil. So. Yeah, all of them. So there's the all white, all yellow version, which is it's supposed to be the more difficult one to find. I actually think the second mold head with the no press is more difficult to find. And then you had the press. The one on the very far end is actually the 94, I believe, re-release of April with the blue accessories. It was a much darker, more bold paint tone. There's the green from the News Van. They just did a ton of her. So
yeah, it's because she was the only pretty much girl. I mean, they only had one Irma figure. Oh, that's right, the Ravishing April. I forgot about that one. I think the Universal one's probably the coolest one. I can see it right in the middle of your collection, right above the green April, the Bride of Frankenstein April. I thought it was a really cool figure to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those Universal ones. And then for Slash, now that's another one that some people, again, if there are some retro fans listening to this podcast, either on Spotify or YouTube, they may start going through their figures, John. So when they're starting to look at their Slashes, what's the variant color belts they should be looking for in terms of value?
So there are 4 different variant belts, actually. So there's 2 versions of the black belt. One has 2 different throwing stars on the side versus one. The one with 2 is actually quite a bit more uncommon, it seems. So I'm not sure where that one came in terms of the release, but it's definitely a different mold. The other ones all have 1 star, and so there's a black belt that has a yellow S in the middle. There is a pink belt that has a red S in the middle. There's also a pink belt that has a yellow S in the middle. So the one that's the yellow-bellied Slash is supposed to come with the pink belt, red S, but has actually been seen with other belts as well. So on card. But in terms of the loose, those are the 4 belts. Now there's 2 different variant Slash figures. There's one that has more common one has like a mustard yellow belly, and the more uncommon one is the very bright yellow. It's like a neon yellow belly, and it's very clear when you see them. The other thing that a collector would want to look at if they're going to buy a slash is look at the back, look at the spines, because oftentimes there's going to be a ton of paint wear on those spines where it's just rubbed off. Those are not going to have a ton of value. They're just not. Collectors don't want those. So when you're looking at stuff, you also want to pay attention to condition. Now, some stuff like dirt and whatever, that'll wash off. Like some paint smears and stuff, or like, you know, a crayon mark or a marker. A lot of that stuff can be taken off pretty easily. But paint wear, you're not going to fix it. So that's where I would say be really careful. If you're getting stuff with paint wear, trying to resell it, people just don't really want it, unless it's for customs, and then they're not going to pay you what you're wanting.
Exactly. What other variants can we cover? A-Stuck, I think, had a very minor variant, was like the hole in his head or something. And another one I know was, I believe is it Dask from the Neutrinos? He had like a shinier figure, I think, too, I remember seeing as a kid.
Yeah, so that Dask one is kind of odd as a variant. It was more of a re-release. So in the original basic assortment, I think 1990, it was either 1990, 1991. Zach the Neutrino came out. It wasn't Dask, it was Zach the Neutrino. So he came out in a more subdued paint tone, and then when they released the Toon Turtle in 1993, they all had very vibrant paint tones. And so actually that's the shelf down here. Very vibrant paint tones. So you can see the one you're talking about is the guy with the almost neon pink hair and
right.
gun left. So yeah, very different accessory color. So that was more of a re-release. Variants, a lot of time what we think about are they're released at the same time. There can be those variations of figures like I was showing with Donatello that were, you know, different years, things like that. And Playmates was pretty notorious about reusing for things. So Warrior Metalhead Michelangelo was just Metalhead pretty much, just with a little bit different in terms of the way it was back molded, but they used the same basic for it. So they did reuse stuff. And then, yeah, so with Eighth Stuck, you mentioned, yeah, there's one with a hole in the head. So the thought that, you know, there's two hats. One has a peg in it that fits in the hole. One doesn't. That would have the A-Stuck didn't have the hat. Thought is that the A-Stuck without the peg came first, and people complained because the hat was falling off. But it seems like they were released fairly simultaneously, so I don't really know what's going on there. They seem to be pretty equal distribution. Neither one has more of a rarity than others. But one of the interesting things, it's A-Stuck and Slash actually both have accessories that are pretty commonly known. A-Stuck's gun and all of Slash's accessories can be found in a soft rubber variant versus the harder plastic. Literally, you can bend them in half just by squeezing. Pretty cool. I don't have any here to show right now. I do think I have some in my unit, but yeah, they're pretty interesting. So all kinds of variant stuff.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that Warrior Metal. That is anybody who's listening to this now, I would like you to Google Warrior Metalhead. It's pretty cool how it's like the Michelangelo. It just looks so much shinier compared to that Metalhead that we had as a kid. Really nice piece.
Yeah, released 1995 toward the end of the line. So again, production numbers were less, just not as many people out. People weren't buying turtles. I mean, like me, I stopped at 92. I don't have anything. Didn't have anything past that.
Yeah, we won't talk about it much, but were you a Power Ranger guy? Because we're about the same age. That's where like a lot of us made that shift in like 93, 94. I still love my Turtles, but there were a couple pieces of Power Rangers I had to own. My brother had the Megazord. We had the movie Megazord as well. Did you get into Power Rangers for a short term too as a kid, or?
I mean, I loved it. I watched it all the time. The thing is, I was really always jealous of my neighbors. They always got the big play sets. They had the Megazord. They had all the pieces.
Oh man.
I had the figures, or a few of the figures. That was it. I remember always wanting it, and it was the coolest toy. It was so cool. It's kind of on my bucket list. I have one that a colleague gave me that was their kids growing up, and who didn't want. I got a few pieces I need to complete. I need the pterodactyl chest piece, the mammoth shield, and the sword.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah. Yeah, they make sure. Well, you know what they man. Make sure it's got the tusks in there, because that's like the turtle figures. You know, those tusks sometimes are fine in it, man.
It's got the tusks.
Okay,
so,
good.
Yeah. So.
All right, let's talk about this for, well, I wouldn't say beginners, intermediate collectors. So how important is a budget for collecting? Because I've seen it at least in a couple of Facebook groups I've been a part of where, you know, you get an impulse buy, you got to have that figure, but then you forget about, you know, life gets in the way, and then it always pained me to see somebody selling stuff because, you know, they couldn't, they had no choice. And that kind of, you know, would pain me. So what is your advice to, you know, beginners or intermediates, like how important a budget is for your collection? Like, what's your take and what's your strategy on that?
Yeah, I mean, so there's always going to be things you can't prepare for. Like, there's going to be, you know, huge hospital expenses, things like that, you know, most people are not going to be able to sustain regardless. So they're going to be selling collectibles or whatever else of value that they have. But bearing that in mind, you still really do need to budget for things. You still need to set limits for what you're going to buy. You need to make sure your bills are paid off. Be able to make sure, you know, just recommended financial advice. If you're able to, having sort of saving, where you could pay your rent for 2 months, you could buy groceries, you could pay your bills for that in case something happens and you're out of work, doing jobs. You know, again, a lot of people think of, well, I have the toys, I can sell them. But when you need that money then, oftentimes you're not going to get the price you're looking for because people aren't needing that toy right then unless you're giving them a deal. Then I need it. Yeah, I'll buy it if it's a big deal. But if you're trying to sell it for retail and there's a bunch of other ones out there for retail, it's going to be difficult to move. So that's the whole thing with selling is a lot more difficult than people think it is. So I had a toy booth for a while in a vintage shop. You know, it sold on Instagram, sold on Facebook. It was a lot. And, you know, having a full-time job outside of that, which a lot of people who sell do, I couldn't do it. So, you know, but you got to keep that in mind. Budget's really important. Here's the thing, like I think, you know, you have a grail list, maybe like 5 items or something that, hey, if those pop up, yeah, I can buy that. But otherwise, you got to be really careful because buying things can be an addiction. I mean, there's addictions to spending money, to gambling, to all kinds of things. So you get a rush when you get a figure. I get a rush when I get a new figure. Like, or when I find something out in the wild, I go to Target and they have the Mutant Mayhem figures, and I'm like, yeah, this is great. But yeah, you have to temper into that, you know, and I know some people are going to see like all these toys and everything, like, oh my God, look at all that. When I was buying this stuff, it was not that expensive. Like some of the stuff, the prices of some of these figures now, I wouldn't pay that for these things. I wouldn't. At this point, I wouldn't have this Ninja Turtle collection if I hadn't started 10 years ago, because I would not pay the prices for things like undercovers and stuff now. Have it.
And you're exactly right too, because if somebody says, hey, in troubled times, these need to get let go, well, somebody's going to see that and they're like, oh, okay, well, if he had the list for 50, he may do 30 because he needs the money. You're right too, or she, or, you know, they may need that. So what are some of the pros and cons of collecting? I would say one con might be storage, but you seem to have your tools in pretty good shape on display there.
I mean, storage, yeah, I have more stuff than I can display. I wish that was not the case, but I do have stuff in a storage unit. You know, I have to consider my wife doesn't want the house completely filled with Ninja Turtles. That's also part of it. Pros to collecting, I think there's a really good toy community in there. You got to kind of weed out some people who are getting really upset about plastic. Like it's a toy, so if you're taking it too seriously or getting all upset or, you know, whatever, there's not really, don't make time for that. But there's a ton of really good people there, and if you're honest and if you're not bugging people all the time and you're asking questions, you know, don't just go out and ask questions, though. Do research. Like it's not difficult. Get on eBay, look at sold listings, get on TMNTtoys.com. Now, I can't stress that one enough. It's an awesome website. Just scroll through there. You can browse there for days and not see everything that's there. But look at it. See what you like. See what's there. You know, that's the thing. When I was researching, I decided, hey, I've figured out which ones are selling a lot, which ones I think are pretty rare, but no one's caught on yet. Black belt storage shell turtles. Everybody goes crazy for those. I mean, they're another little tour, but
no, I'm enjoying this tour. Wait, so there were black belt shell storage? When did those? I was even unaware of those. I was aware of the shell storage ones, but I didn't know they had black belt ones.
Yeah, so 94, 95, they re-released them. They with translucent weapons and black belts as opposed to the other, so another variant release. Some of them came in the packages with trade cards, some of them did not, and they're really hard to find. Raphael, black belt sword shell Raphael, extremely hard to find. You think Scratch is hard to find? Not even close. Scratch is you get Scratch every day. Like Scratch is, I don't know, Scratch has this mystique about him. I own Scratch, I like Scratch. Scratch is not even my top like 10 favorite, but he's still in the middle of the display case because when people come over, they're like, "Oh, you got a Scratch."
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, Scratch.
That's the one that's like the mainstream media toy, in my opinion, John. A lot of people just bring up Scratch. They say he's so hard to find. So, how did you actually accumulate Scratch?
So yeah, the black belt storage shells, selling for several hundred, like 500, 600, 700, 1,000 or more for RAF. I got for 25 each, and I actually got Leo free when they did eBay bucks back in the day.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about eBay bucks. Oh man, I forgot about those.
So yeah, I have a grand total, I think, of what, $75 invested in my black belt storage shell turtles, which and the ones I'm gonna hate it, but I opened them off card. I mean, they were decent cards, they weren't great, but like I got a whole set of them and opened all of them and traded the extra Leo that I had. So but I had several of those sets back in the day. They were not that uncommon to find. They weren't super common. They were hard to find, but they were there, and then all of a sudden they weren't. And the reason why is because I was obsessed with the TMNT buddies, the little guys that came with them. So several of the figures had them. Scratch comes with Jailbird. And that was the only buddy I didn't have. And so I was really on a mission. The thing is, finding a loose complete Scratch a while ago was actually kind of difficult. So I didn't want to pay the price that it was. So one of my best friends, Travis, Scratch Daddy TMNT on Insta, he had a bunch of Scratches. He ended up buying this one that I have from a toy store in Colorado that was having a 50% off sale, I think is what it was. I don't know how he heard about it. I think it was Facebook, but he called up the place, asked if that was, they said yes. I think he got it for like $350 or something. He was super nice and agreed to sell it to me for $800. It was the most I'd ever paid for a figure, but at the time, like I said, I was selling stuff, so I had all kinds of bulk inventory. I did like a 2-week Instagram claim sale, all kinds of things. Prices for things that I can't even imagine selling stuff for now. I sold a Warrior Rocksteady accessory set for, I think, was big at the time. That was that Warrior Metalhead Michelangelo thing. I sold I sold a ton of stuff, made the $800, got it for my buddy. I had saved up a bunch of carded figures that were in bad condition to open, and he and I did a live video on Facebook in one of our groups with my oldest kid there. We opened Scratch together. We had a good time. We were selling stuff because he and I were selling stuff at the time. We had bought a huge lot of toys from a huge lot of turtles from a previous toy store owner that we met at Kane County with. So yeah, I got it. I opened it. He's sitting up there. He's a cool cat, but he's definitely not that hard to find. So, but still.
How much does he go for now, John? Complete. Where you're figuring, like, off the top. This is being recorded in July 2024, so just a ballpark price.
Yeah, I'd say $2,000.
How many friends have you met through collecting? Because as me and you know, there are a lot of cool kids.
A lot. I don't think I could say a number. I mean, I'm in several groups. I talk to a bunch of. I go through my periods though where I, just do my own thing and talk to a bunch of people. And then I'll get back in it. But I have 10, 20 people that I communicate pretty regularly, I would say, and that 100 or so more, chatting with every while. I have a lot of people reach out asking me questions about accessories or things like that in chat, or they'll ask me if I've seen this or do I know what this is. I do think I have somewhat of a reputation of knowing those things, but again, I've researched every line, I've collected every line, it's just what I like to do. So I don't mind sharing my knowledge. People ask, so.
Yeah, I think you'd agree. It's more like a brotherhood or family. A lot of these groups too. We all come together, because we cheer each other on, and it was so much fun. Just helping out other, people with their collections. I mean, you've helped me a couple times back in the day. Where you're like, hey, Mikey, guess what, dude? I found what you're looking for on eBay. Check this out. See if it works for you. What I always liked was not even the selling. It was more like the trades, because most of the guys we dealt with, when you build up, that friendship, they're going to give you something extra that you weren't even expecting. I mean,
at least in one of my main groups, and I just can't talk about it too much. It's like a private group, but it's a Ninja Turtle folk collecting group. It's the norm to send extra stuff with packages if you're sending stuff.
Yeah.
Sticks, trading cards, extra figures. If I know that the person I'm sending it to has kids or they're interested in it, I'll send stuff for the kids. I got a local buddy who, awesome dude, not on Facebook, but he goes by Turtle. I met him at Target. We were both looking for the new NECA stuff.
Yeah.
He was looking for the Mirage set. I was looking for some Toon stuff. I had happened to buy an extra Mirage set, hoping to trade it for the Toon stuff I was looking for. But he was like, man, I was looking for. I'm like, I got you. I'll give it to you at cost. We buddies since. That was whenever the Mirage NECA set 4-pack came out. That was we met each other. But yeah, it's fun finding stuff, and I remember when I went over bringing him some stuff that I picked up. He doesn't have a car, and there's a Target on my way to work, so it just works out. We meet up every once in a while once I've gotten some stuff for him, but I took a big package of stuff for his kid, and it's fun. So I don't know. It's just, I think it's part of it. It's those acts of kindness, but it helps foster that community, and it's not expected. No one's expecting it, but if you do it, you enjoy it, then cool.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was for me. So I was helping, because a lot of people, like maybe new guys don't know this, but there is a term called army building, and some people are obsessed with getting as many foot soldiers as they can find. So I helped out one of our guys, in a group, and he was always so appreciative of the prices. Because I'm like you, John. Like, look, if I can make X on the market, so what? I'd rather give it to somebody for a little bit discount, because, like you say, that toy's going to somebody who's going to appreciate it and keep it in their collection. So out of the blue, he's like, Mike, I want to take care of you, and he gifted me a sumo Mikey. And we all know how rare those sumo figures are. I mean, it's a very wholesome thing to do collecting if you can network with the right people. Another thing I want to talk to you, because it looks like you did, take a break from selling right now, but 2 questions just to help out the newbies who are trying to sell. So when you're on, your Facebook marketplace or your eBay, and like, I don't know if you do offers or OfferUp, but when somebody offers you like a ridiculous price, I think that happens to almost anybody. What's your take on that? Do you just ignore them completely, or do you acknowledge it and say, hey, thank you, but no, and just like move on? Because there are some who are just like, are you kidding? Like with these offers? I'm curious, like, how you would deal with those guys.
I mean, don't take it personal, because everybody's trying to get the best price. I don't do actually a ton of haggling. I'll do a little bit. If the price is reasonable, I pay for it. If the price is not reasonable, I move on. And at a lot of toy shows, if you just put the item down and start walking away, the person's either going to give you a cheaper offer, or they're not going to go down on their price anyway. So yeah, I try not to get offended. In the past I was definitely more hot-headed, get upset about stuff, or I think I've calmed down a little. Therapy. So I would suggest ignoring it. Don't get worked up about it. If somebody, if you're selling on eBay, someone offers you a ridiculous offer too low, just hit decline. Don't put a message. Just hit decline. Move past it. You can also set limits to where you will auto reject any offers below a certain point. So I've done that too. So I'm not dealing with those. They just get auto rejected. In Facebook groups and stuff, just remember, if people are making you super, super, super low offers, they probably know what you have, and they're probably looking to resell it themselves. So unless you're desperate to sell it or want to move it, say no and just move on. If they're harassing you, report them on Facebook and block them.
That's good advice there, John. So me and you are, well, at least I'm blessed to live in Illinois, where there's a ton of shops around here to go. There's 2 big things we can mention to anybody listening to this now. Is there's a flea market currently in Rosemont.
WOLFFS.
That's right. And then we have a big toy show coming in Kane County, right? Later July 28th. So if you could share some of your strategies here, because, you know, the early bird does get the worm. Are you like making sure you get there right away to make sure you see everything, or how do you usually, what's your take on flea markets?
So flea markets, I am doing very casual because I'm doing flea markets with my kids, wife, you know, we'll be fourth grader, we'll be second grader. They're getting tired. We're not going, you know, early AM. I'm getting there around 9 or 10. We've been awake. We're, you know, walking down the aisles. Again, when I was for a booth, they'll get good deals there. Now you're not going to get the best stuff unless you get there right early. But if you're doing this as a source of income, a legitimate source of income, be there when it opens. If you're doing it as a hobby, don't take it too seriously. Just go and relax. Spend it Saturday or Sunday. So if you can, if you don't have kids, do that while you can. And yeah, so with Kane County now, different strategy. So and you speak of early bird, they have an early bird package. So the show is Sunday, but there's actually early entry for Saturday. So $50 for the early entry as opposed to $10 for the regular second day. Now buying the first day gets you the second day, so already for 2 days you can think of it as $40 first day and $10 for the second day. Now the deal is, every great deal I've gotten at Kane County, and I'm hesitant to even say this because I don't want everybody going the first day, but if you go, it's fine. I guess I shouldn't buy as many toys anymore. I don't have any space to put them. So go the first day, and people are setting up. Buy stuff as they're setting stuff up. I mean, so here you go. We talked about the giants that didn't have the eyes or had the colorless pupils. So this is a prototype. These are the ones that were on the back of the Ninja Turtle boxes. They all had Raphael's head mold, not Donatello's head mold, and the eyes were unpainted. Wow. But they were too creepy by test markets. Story I've heard. This also has the much more uncommon stitched belt. This is stitching. This isn't that normal laminate. Now there are some of the regular releases that did come with this stitched belt as well. I'm not going to give everything away here because I don't want people trying to replicate it. I'm a little paranoid about stuff like that. This belt is different, not just in the stitching, but there are other things that are different here than the other stitched belts that are out there that are production releases. So there are a couple of known examples of these. A seller had it was $50. I didn't actually know what it was at the time, so I don't feel bad. I didn't know I was ripping the guy off. A buddy of mine had joked about, oh, there's a white pupil variant of Giant Donatello out there that you don't have, when I posted a pic of what I thought was all of mine. Oh. And a month later, I found it at a toy show. I was like, cool, I got the other one. And then I realized what it was when people were telling me what it was in the group. So, and I'm a Donatello guy, so Don is my guy. So finding this was probably the best find I've ever had in terms of value. But I don't think
he's going anywhere. But it's funny you bring it up because I was talking when I went to the King County, just the regular flea market show. They say it's almost like $120 for a table. And you would think most of those guys know toys. I mean, with all the research you can do, like you say, go to eBay Sold, go to other websites, and you can. So that's one of my other questions is, there's still hope for people collecting vintage turtle toys, right? They're still out there. Some, not as many, but there's still hope for those, right?
There is. Now, here's the thing. You're on. I think you said Twitch and some of these other things. Because your crowd's a little bit younger. You might have some of the 2003 series fans that are following you along. Now, here's the deal. That's the stuff you can get good deals on right now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to pop over real quick. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. I wasn't planning on showing this, but I'll grab it.
No, we definitely want to hear else. And for those who are new to toy collecting, when John mentioned mock, that means mint on card, meaning it has not been opened and it's pretty much in flawless shape. When he talks about bubbles, there's a lot of turtle figures that have that plastic covering that turtle, and there's these little cracks in there. So that's what we mean by cracked bubble. Try and get you guys some more terminology today too.
Actually need to point of clarification there. Mock does not talk about the quality of the card.
Oh.
It actually talks about the quality of the figure. So mint on card simply means that the figure is mint on the card. The package can be torn to shreds.
Ooh. Wow. Okay.
MONC, mint on mint card, is actually what people are talking about. Now, people will use mock for that, but in grading services and things like that, mock just means that the figure is mint on card.
Thank you for that terminology there. No, I appreciate that. That's what we're here for.
All right, so this is what I'm showing. So this actually, all 4 brothers were released. This is the giant bonus pack. I think they just had all kinds of these Ninja Turtle 3 DVDs on surplus, and they were just trying to get rid of them. So they packaged them with these, called them the movie action pack. Okay. The molds actually were different. These are different giant turtles. So the molds are unique from the 2003 giants that were released at first. They have like almost like a bobbly head. The hands have articulation, so fingers will close, so they and they're smaller actually than the other giants. So really interesting on that. But so I walk into the show, to the spring show at Kane County, walk up to the booth, and I see the guy. He set these 4 out. And I'm like, okay, those look really cool. And I asked him the price. Again, I got all 4 brothers. I got the whole set of 4, and these packages are just immaculate. And he was like, 160. And I was like, oh, okay. And I as I started walking away, he's like, oh, is that too much? He's like, you can do like 120. I was like, 120 each is like pretty high. And he's like, oh no, 120 for all of them. And I was like, yeah, cool, let's do that. I actually paid him the 160. I told him we could do that. I didn't feel right about taking him for less, because again, like, these are really nice packages, so I think the value of them is probably in the $80 to $100 range. And they're also ones that you don't see too commonly. They're more of that niche collecting, because not everyone wants the Ninja Turtle 3, but they're not super common, and not super common to find in really nice condition. So that's what I'm saying. I got that the first day of the show. I always recommend going the first day, because every nice thing that was there the first day, if I saw it and I wanted it, I bought it. It was not going to be there when I went back, and that's just how these toy shows work. If you see something and it's a good price and you really want it, get it. If you walk away, there is no guarantee that it'll be back even 10 minutes later. So, and on Sunday, sure, it will be packed. It's like sardines in there. But it's a huge show. Go, it's a ton of fun. If you've never been, it's an awesome time. So.
Yeah, exactly. We both recommend going Saturday, but for some reason, if you can't, because it is $50 compared to, I believe it's 10, right, John? On Sundays, just $10 flat.
Yeah. Oh, and then other great ones. Bric-a-Brac too is a really, really cool one. It's also a record store, but it's got awesome vintage toys and stuff too. So.
Where's that one at, John? I don't even think I've been there. I gotta actually write that one down. Bric-a-Brac, it's called. Bric-a-Brac. BRICABRAC. It is on Milwaukee. Okay. And kind of like Milwaukee and Diversey. Okay. And so it's actually right next to Nick and Jen own it. They started the coffee shop right next door that's called The Brood, BREWED. And when you walk in, it's like all their collectibles. They're big into horror themes, so they got all their horror stuff in there. They got a set of the Universal Monster Ninja Turtles in there. And Nick and I have talked about that. So, so a really cool location to go in, because you can go straight from the coffee shop into the record store. And I believe they have a Simpsons arcade game on free play in there. So. Oh, that's a good little bonus there too.
Exactly.
Let's see here. Before we get to the show and Shell, I just had 2 more questions here. So the ones I've never owned, but that you have that are awesome are, because most people know Undercover Don, common figure that grew up in our area. How did you accumulate those Undercover Turtles? Did you?
Yeah, so I got them in interesting ways. In that I bought. There was this guy on eBay called Football and Orange Guy, and he used to sell all kinds of turtles, and he had warehouses. His daughter now sells some stuff, I believe, but he was notorious for perpetuating all of these lies about Ninja Turtles, talking about all these figures with rubber limbs that were actually just mold, and all kinds of stuff like that, talking about the Warriors of the Forgotten Sewer, that the blue accessories were more rare than all the other 3 colors, even though everything we can see, they were in the same ratios, none more common than the other. But he was adamant about this and just would perpetuate this stuff on eBay, and since he had tons of sales, people believed it. He's the big one that actually started the White Jersey Slam Dunk and Don is only sold, it was a Walmart exclusive, and like that rumor still perpetuates to this day that the regular figure, this one, was owned by Walmart. Walmart. That's not true at all. It was sold everywhere, and there's multiple examples of this figure carded with other price tags. Now, what was a Walmart exclusive was this guy.
The old school Giant?
Yep. Walmart exclusive. Anyway, but this guy was notorious for perpetuating these rumors. So I bought. He would do these sales and stuff, and I ended up getting an undercover RAF carded on like sale, $300 and something time. I traded to my buddy Travis, who had the scratch. He also army built undercovers at the time, so I traded him my RAF carded for a loose RAF and a bunch of other stuff that was complete. I ended up getting the loose Donatello complete from a buddy in my Ninja Turtle group for I think $650. I got lucky on Michelangelo and got him in a trade with again my buddy Travis. I got really lucky and got 2 bag grenade Genghis frogs off eBay, a seller for like $20 each, and traded those for the undercover Mike complete. And then Leo my buddy's sometimes a dick because he would not trade me a Leo at all. He would not do that, and he said the only way he would trade me a Leo was if I gave him a carded one in return. So I ended up finding a carded one. Most I'd ever spent on a figure, and the most I ever will spend on a figure. But I ended up spending $1,000 on a card, and then I ended up trading him for that, for the loose complete one, and which actually wasn't complete. It's the only undercover I don't have that's technically complete. The mask that looks like undercover or Donatello the undercover turtle, that goofy mask, is different on undercover Leo because there's no peg holes in the back for that strap to fit on, so it's just solid. He didn't know that, and I didn't know that because we just didn't know. Yeah. And then found out later, and we're still trying to find one, but it's one of those that I don't care that much at this point. The figure is still incredibly valuable without it, and I don't really want to pay $300 or more for one of those, which is probably what I'd have to pay for it at this point in time. So I traded it for a loose complete and a wing Leonardo that was not in great shape that I opened because mine weirdly came out of the factory with a paint splotch on the wing, like the dye that ran through it, that went on the pins in the wing was a big spot. It was really weird, but I ended up selling that one with full disclosure of the spot. And yeah, so that's how I got them. So they all, three of them came from my buddy, and the other one came from another good buddy. So again, that's where the collecting comes in. And this is my biggest advice to people: if you want complete figures, if you're looking for cheap and value, complete figures have more value. I recommend buying the figure complete to begin with versus chasing down the accessory. I would not have all of these figures in the complete state that they are if I didn't do that. And it's really fun if you can find a really damaged card for cheap. It's super fun to open.
When you're looking on eBay now, do you type complete in your search because you'll pay a better buck? Or if you could share like just 1 or 2 secrets on your eBay searches, because that's still where everybody sells, it seems like. Even though shipping is going up, but I think it just went up again this month. Is there a certain way to search for these guys, or because the one story I did want to share is that you showed me was you caught a giant troll turtle, and it was a weird situation. Just again, just if you're a collector, you just gotta dig like John does. I mean, because you spend hours on those eBays when you get a second, just to search through these things. So can you at least share that one, and if you have another holy grail like on the cheap you found?
Yeah, so I got two stories come to mind. The giant troll RAF I got for $35 shipped, when even at the time it was selling for $300. The title was just TMNT Fairy Hair Green or something like that. It was nothing about giant, nothing about troll, nothing about turtle. So here's the one thing people need to understand about eBay. These are smart searches. I use one search and one search only for eBay, and I'll share it just because whatever. I mean, because you're going to have to do the legwork here. I type in TMNT, and I don't search in all categories. I just search in action figures and accessories first, because you're going to get thousands and thousands of hits. And I start with the newest item, and I just scroll down until I see it where I left off from the day before. And I typically will go through everything that's listed and I will look at it. That's my big secret. It's not, look, I don't search for anything specific. I don't search for titles. I don't search for mock. I did that when I first started, and you don't get the hits. Everything that I found is simply because it up in the search that came for TMNT, which will pull up Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, pull up all of that stuff, even if TMNT itself is not in the title.
Here's the way to go. Just 4 letters, and that's all you need. 4 letters can get you anything you want. Okay.
That's my search, so.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing some of your secrets here. And let's hear, before we get in the show and shell, what is your Mount Rushmore of turtle figures? Just if you can name 4, it could be from any series or franchise that's in your collection. It could be sentimental value, could be, a high-end value. Just, your 4, like, coolest, pieces in the turtle franchise. I know it's hard to choose just 4.
So, I mean, in terms of things that I own, the main one that I would never sell is a carded Sewer Surfer Mike.
Being a Donatello guy, me being a Mikey guy, I'm kind of happy to hear Mike made your Mount Rushmore. I thought I was going to be 4 Donatellos.
Just kind of over there in the top corner, you can see him. So,
Right.
the deal is it's associated with a memory. So when I first moved up to Chicago on my birthday, my wife set up a comic book crawl, toy store crawl city. I had it in my head that I was going to get a Ninja Turtle 13 years ago. And that was the first turtle in my collection and will stay in the collection. It's the only one at the time that I found carded. I really wanted a carded figure at that point in time. I got it for $20 at the store How Collectibles, which is very cool. I don't go there that often, but just because it's farther away from where I'm at. But it's a cool store. Yeah, Chicago's got a lot of stuff. And yeah, I grabbed it, and so that's one that I have no intention of selling, no intention of trading. It may be worth $100 at this point, maybe less. I don't know, but again, that's one. So in terms of Grail pieces, things that I've really looked for, yeah. So here's one: Paleo Patrol Cycle Raphael. So this is 2006, I believe. Again, for the people, if you know anything about the 2003 line, this is actually the mold of the Monster Trapper Turtle. They repainted them Paleo Patrol line when they re-released it. And this figure, I still don't know if it was released in the US. This one came from a friend in Denmark, and I found it on basically the Danish equivalent to eBay. They don't ship outside of Denmark. Fortunately, I have a buddy in Denmark, and he translated the auction and ended up buying this huge lot of stuff, which I could only see the figure, the bike, and this missile part. You cannot believe how ecstatic I was when he got the lot in and spread everything out, and every accessory was there complete, just everything, even the missile. There. I looked for this for years and years and years. It's one of the very few specific searches that I had saved on my eBay for Paleo Patrol Saber Cycle. This was like my Mount Rushmore for the 2003 line. There's actually quite a few from the 2003 line that were like Grail pieces. So this is another big one, sort of Tengu light-up variant. Now, it doesn't have the glove in it, and there are 2 versions of this. One's a solid box that you can't see in. This one came from Australia. I think the glove was actually supposed to sit here. Now, this coil in here is supposed to light up when you do it, but this was Shredder Sword 3 series. Not really the best. I've hunted one of these got lucky, found it eBay Australia, being shipped outside the US as far as I understand, but I ended up getting it for way less than I would have paid for. It's the only boxed example I know of. If anyone else has one, let me know. But it's the only boxed example I know of. And then another really rare piece from that line is the Fast Forward Ninja Turtle 4-pack. And so I don't know if this one ever went into auction. I know I got it from a Mirage Studios auction.
Mirage Studio, the company, actually they were selling turtle products?
Yeah, well, so like Mirage Vault, I think it's actually more like Kevin Eastman and all of that group, whatever was extra stuff that they had, and it would come with certificates of authenticity. I got a few things from them, but that was one of them that was there. I really regret not buying. There was a pack of just the plain brothers with a RAF, and all the others are 3-packs, and I've only ever seen 2 of those now, and I really regret not buying that one. And the last one, the biggest Mount Rushmore that I searched for forever, marble shooters. So in the U.S., the marble shooters were these like vac metal with, kind of chrome and all in the colors of them. It was actually designed to be a game, so these little marbles pop out. There's a little shooter on the back. You're supposed to like knock down the futsal things. So, I don't actually want to pop it out right now because these are a little brittle. I don't know if it would break or not, but never actually.
They came with foot soldiers, like a target practice almost. You were saying?
No, like on the back on the back of the card were the instructions to the game, and there was a picture of like a foot soldier. So, so in Japan though, they were called Bidaman, and they were released in these colors. The green, yeah. So same molds and everything, but different paint schemes. Very cool. Love these guys. Yeah. So all 4 of them. I have them on cards too, hanging up on the wall. Let's see if they're on the cards. Let me see if I can get a closer look. Those are pretty cool cards.
Yeah. We're definitely going to have you back for part 2, John, one day. I don't want to keep you all night, but this has been a fantastic show and Jelly too. Wow.
So those are the cards. But if you thought that those were cool or rare to find, then you might be blown away by these guys. The gold
standard?
The gold version. Now, what the heck are these, you may ask? Well, these are actually mail-away exclusives for the Japanese Ninja Turtle Club.
So that's more. Yeah. Now, there was a Chef Boyardee Super Shredder that you had to mail in for, right?
Yeah.
That's the only other mail-in I can compare that to. Wow. So a Japanese mail-in.
So Japanese mail-in. Now, I had seen a picture of these years ago, and it was a really cool picture with all 3 like on a shelf together in rows. And I was like, man, those are really cool, and I have to have them. I didn't know what they were. I finally figured out what they were. I made buddies with some different Japanese sellers. They had never seen them. A guy on Instagram who had them. They were awesome. And then randomly one day they popped up on eBay with the box that they. Yeah, you can see that.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm one of the only people I know that has this here, but like the box itself, the little like bag that the weapons came in, and then each of them would, just kind of set in. Wow. This was probably the most excited I've been to get something. Probably even more excited than the Paleo Patrol Saber Cycle, which I'd looked for forever. I really like the Japanese stuff. I have a ton of the Japanese exclusive figure. I think all of them that I know of. Recently just purchased a 10-back Takara Donatello. Super excited, that should come in tomorrow. I don't buy a lot anymore vintage, but that was on my bucket list. But so yeah, those were my Mount Rushmores. So I got most of the things that I'm really hunting. The only thing right now I'm actively trying to get that's really rare are these 2008 re-release Paleo Patrol figures that were not released in the U.S. I have 2 complete. So
similar to the Raphael when you showed us, right? They have more of those.
Yeah, so it's the same paint scheme, different color, different paint colors though. Size a little bit different. I have the Raph complete that I got a few years ago from Australia, thinking that it was Paleo Patrol Raph. So for years I thought I had the figure and not the cycle because the accessories are the same. And there was only one blurry picture online of the Paleo Patrol Saber Cycle, but someone listed one on eBay in the last year, and it was for 500 auction, 650, buy it now. And I was sitting there thinking, there's no one crazy like me that would even consider buying it for this much. I'll just wait. It'll probably get relisted for less. It's sold within the first 24 hours of it. I thought I knew who bought it. They didn't. I have no idea where it is or who this private secret 2003 collector is. So if you're hearing this, hit me up. Like Phantom Freaky Collectibles on Instagram. I want to know who you are because as far as I know, that's the only one I know of in box. Like TMNTtoys.com doesn't even have a picture of it. Let's put it that way. He also doesn't have the Sword of Tengu.
Oh, wow.
Anyway,
so
yeah.
What made you want that Sword of Tengu? Because in our generation, did you have the goofy stuff? We had some of those growing up too. There was like some funky like mutagen belt from Michelangelo, I remember, and there was some like weird sword or something.
Yeah, I have some of those things. So they had all kinds of funky weapons. Why I wanted this one specifically is because I'm really into, at this point, I've got all the stuff from the US that I want. I'm kind of into the niche, like international stuff at this point, and that one is huge peak on my radar. I know a guy who has the glove to complete it. He's in England. I'm having to figure out how to ship a Jack-specific Colossal Leonardo, which is like 4 feet tall, to the UK to trade for it, but we're going to make it happen.
Well, we got to get you back to hear that story on that shipping. Is there anything else you'd like to show us tonight, John?
I got a couple other cool pieces I'll show real quick. These are actually hand-painted prototypes from the 2003 line. These were supposed to be the battle bike figures, and they definitely did not end up looking like this in production. The really neat, yeah, and so I got these from a guy who, I mean, his name's Chris Fawcett. He wrote the book on prototypes, if you'd ever seen it. One second, let me grab that. It's awesome. I'll plug him here. This is Rad Plastic, and it's probably one of the coolest books ever if you like Ninja Turtles. It is literally just filled with prototypes. And oh my gosh, I opened a hotspot prototype. Look at this. There's a, oh yeah, and this is a painted hard copy of Half Court with different teams. Like, these are all prototypes that are known to exist. So, I mean, and it's literally, I mean, it's not every prototype known to exist. Like,
we'll see. Where can we get it? Is it on Amazon? I'm guessing. I mean, off the top of your head.
I'm guessing it's on Amazon. I got it on Facebook. So if any of these people are in like Facebook or the Vintage Ninja Turtle group, like, he sold it through there. He's an admin in that group, and he's the lead of the TMNT prototype group. So again, Chris Fawcett, but you can always just look him up on Facebook. I think he probably has it selling on Amazon. I would guess. I don't know. I pre-ordered it when it was coming out because I had to have it. So yeah, anyway, so I got these from him. They were in a lot of just regular 2003 stuff, and I was like, man, I've never seen those versions before. I gotta grab this lot. And they came in, and the thing is, when you feel it, like, this is paint. Like, it's not factory paint. This is hand paint. And so I realized what they were. I talked to him. I told him what it was. He was happy for me because I'm a huge 2003 fan. Yeah. But the neat thing was, I then saw a picture of a catalog showing some Toy Fair shots, and I was able to paint match. So those right there in this magazine, those are those figures. So very cool. They unfortunately didn't release some of these. The Mouser 6-pack they never released. They didn't release this cool Raphael, like, in spacesuit, battle damage quarry. They had the Footfire Mystics, but they only released this one. They had the other ones that they were going to release. So that was disappointing. It's a cool magazine. It's an old Lee's Toy Review. Ooh, this one's pretty cool. European Mutacarrier. So I don't really do vehicles, but this is one that I have because it is a re-release. Now, you can see on this actually mutates into a giant Raphael turtle. US model is like brown and whatever. This is like a really cool blue camouflage. The accessories are a different green. They were like a dark green in the other. So and you can see them on the side too. So pretty cool. And they didn't have the militarized part because it was more like US flag and stuff. So the stickers are different, German. So anyway, so that's really cool. And then I guess the last thing I'll show you, so for some of the newer people, if you've been into the 2012 series, Rise series, I love 4-packs. I don't know if you can tell the stuff I showed you, but these are really cool. So these are 4-pack, they say like exclusive 4-pack. I don't actually know where they came from, but saw them, I had to have them. I've only ever seen this one of this. I think I've seen maybe a couple of these, but not too common. But I really like how they display and showing all the 4 brothers from the new series. I love all the new series. I think that's all I got, popping. I mean, I got stuff I can show you for weeks.
Well,
but
we definitely want to have you back because we haven't even touched like the minis. I know there's like mini play sets I want to show people one day. And one more time, where can people find you on Instagram if they do want to check out some more of your cool stuff? Yeah,
it's called Phantom Freaky Collectibles. PHANTOM PHREAKY COLLECTIBLES.
Perfect. I'll definitely.
Yes, there are 2 legitimate spellings of collectibles. I is a legitimate spelling of collectible. I just like the way it looks more.
And what made you choose Hothead for your avatar? Yeah, if you guys check him out, he has a picture of Hothead, the action figure. I was curious why he's still up there for you.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like it. I like the picture. Hothead's one of my favorite figures. See him right over my shoulder, right up there. Right there.
Yeah,
There he is.
Yeah, right in bits.
It was one of my favorites. I remember it was one I really wanted as a kid. It was in that kind of first wave of stuff when I was buying. He was one of the ones I got. So, and there is actually a variant to Hothead with unpainted toenails that was from the '94 release with the trading card. FYI.
Really?
So.
Yeah, we still got a lot of ground to cover. John, I hope we can get you back. Before we let you go, any final thoughts and any other advice you'd like to give new collectors or?
So two things. One, invest in your displays, because if you got a bunch of stuff and it's not displayed, like, you know, what are you doing? So I have stuff where it's displayed, where I got all kinds of stuff. I got to put out more lights.
It's up there too.
I got NECAs, but I got all around. But, you know, spend some time in displays. Like, think about what you want to do, what you want to display, and do that. So, like, I knew how many shelves I had, and I looked and I'm like, these are the figures I want. This will display here. These are my groupings, because I have everything grouped by category. Again, you display it how you want to. You don't have to display it like me, but put some thought into it, because don't just, like, haphazardly put stuff there. I mean, I guess unless that's what you want to do, but... You know, part of collecting is showing off a little bit. So have a cool display. And then the other part, the most important part, just collect what you love. Like, don't buy it to make a profit. If you're doing it to make money, don't be a collector, just be a toy seller. But buy the stuff you love. And if people don't like it, so what? Because you have stuff you love.
Well, John, I appreciate your time. We'll definitely have to do this again sometime. Have a fantastic night, and cowabunga, dude.
All right. See you, Mike.
Take care, John.
King Mike and the heroes in a half shell.
Thanks for listening to Shellonomics. Follow us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for the video version. Stay tuned for more Ninja Turtles insights.